Hey y'all. So I am going live, but I'm doing it in two different places. So let me tell you, that has been a challenge for me. So give me a second because I am operating on two phones. How are y'all doing today? I am talking about 5 reasons why your nonprofit is stagnant. And then if you'll give me a second, I am going live on another one. So that should be a second. This is going to be interesting. All right, so hey y'all, how are you doing? I am Tiffany Hicks and I'm the CEO of VRE Training Solutions. It's gonna look a little weird because I'm doing this live on 2 different phones so that I could go live on my corporate page as well as go live on my personal page. So I'm gonna scoot back a little bit and then hopefully try to look that way and not try to be cross-eyed. So anywho, what am I talking about today? So let me tell you all a little bit, a story about why I decided to do a live today. So in rebranding and relaunching my business, I literally made a decision to stop offering some services. How many of you have ever done that? So if you are catching this now, or if you're catching this on the replay, a lot of business owners and even nonprofit leaders have made a decision that, maybe we want to rebrand, maybe we want to change our mission or our vision, and we want to do something a little different. So I'm going to talk about my entrepreneur journey first for a second. So when I first started my business, the very first people that ever supported me were nonprofits. And so I did a lot of services for nonprofits. I did business plans. I did strategic planning. I did fundraising strategies. And then as I got to doing it more often, I actually learned that most nonprofits were struggling with how to get donations, but they were also struggling with keeping their nonprofit status because they either filed it incorrectly or they weren't filing their 990s. There were lots of things, and I wanted to help people. And then in that, I noticed that what was happening was a lot of the nonprofits that I was helping, especially the ones that were Black owned and more specifically Black woman owned, they were supporting that nonprofit with their own finances and then not even using it as a benefit to take off on their taxes. And so I was like, well, what's really going on with that, right? So how come we have all these people starting these nonprofit organizations, but they're not getting anywhere? Like they're grassroots, they have amazing missions, but they're not growing. And so that prompted me to, 1, do this live, but 2, it was because because my business started with helping nonprofits first, me understanding that I was going to remove that from my services, I was like, okay, Tiffany, you got to go out there and go give people this information so you don't feel bad about it. And then that way, when you remove the service off of your service list for your business, you won't feel bad. And that's where I'm at, right? So I'll tell you a little bit about why I'm removing that service. I'm removing that service because what I learned is that nonprofits, and y'all gonna have to hold on one second because the phone is live, so the phone's ringing. Anyway, so I made a decision to start talking to people about it because I found that there were so many nonprofit organizations that they went out and got their 501c3, but they're not actually using it in the way that they should. They are putting all their money into the nonprofit. They don't have a team that is helping them build or grow. And I've known people that started their nonprofit 5 years ago and it's still in the same place it was in 5 years ago. So I wanted to, before I make a decision to exit out of offering that particular service to people, I wanted to give people something that they could chew on. And then also I wanted to build something that, hey, if I put this together, this could be something that people could buy, even though I'm making a decision to no longer do it. What I have decided that I am willing to do is that if there are people who are legitimately wanting to take action in their nonprofit and they really want to grow it from being stagnant to being a place where they are running programming that is meaningful and to running programming that is really helping people and building in their community, then I will do nonprofit consulting, and that's going to be on retainer. So that's the background. That's my story, y'all. My story is, if you're just joining, that I started my business helping nonprofits, and I want to continue to help, but I've made a decision to help in a very different capacity. And so the reason why that matters is there are still so many nonprofit founders and nonprofit leaders that need the help that I'm going to go over today. So let's get into it, y'all. That's enough background stuff. We're going to get into it. So here's what I want to share. There are 5 reasons why your nonprofit may be stagnant. And I'm going to start with, this is the hardest one to share. It is the hardest one to share because nobody wants to hear this one. But the truth of the matter is your nonprofit is probably stagnant because you're not a good leader. That's just facts. You may know a lot or be very passionate about what it is that you're doing in the community, but if you are still doing it basically by yourself and no one is helping you, it's because you're not leading, right? And that's hard for people to swallow. That is super hard for people to swallow. But why do I say that? Because as a nonprofit founder, or if you have chose to take the title of the executive director, the truth is that you are not supposed to be doing it all by yourself. That's just not what you're supposed to be doing. You are supposed to be engaging a board that can help you with fundraising, that can help you with building strategy, right? And if your board isn't doing that, it's because you're not leading them correctly. And that will definitely cause you to not be able to do the things you need to do. So let me give you an example. And this is common with most nonprofits, right? Most people have started their nonprofit and they have put people on the board that they know, like, and trust. They may be family members, they may be coworkers, they may be someone that they happen to know in the community. But then what they don't do, they don't give them a guideline in which how to operate on their board. So a lot of times people will have their board members out working on programming, right? People will have their board members, sharing social media posts and stuff like that. But the thing is that as the leader of your nonprofit, what you're really supposed to be doing with your board is you're supposed to be sitting down and talking strategy with them. The people that are on your board should be people who can fundraise. They should be people that can go out into the community and they have influence. They can cause people to write checks. That's what people on your board should do. They should also sit down and talk with you about strategy, meaning how are we going to grow this organization? How are we going to be in the community and put out this good work? Who are we going to service? And how are we going to make things better in our community? And if your board isn't helping you do that, it is probably because you don't have the leadership skills that you need. What I try to share with people is a nonprofit is no different from running a business. The biggest thing you need to know is that running a nonprofit, you get money in. You need to know what to do with that money, which means you need to know how to lead an organization. Some people are leading their nonprofit from passion. But passion is not going to allow you to fundraise. Passion is not going to help you have impactful programming. This is work that you actually have to put in. So, number 1, you're not a qualified leader, and that's okay. If you are a nonprofit founder or a nonprofit leader and you're not leadership material, that's okay. Go out and find someone who has leadership capability and allow them to be the president of the nonprofit. Allow them to do the leading so that you can be in the community working on the programming, which is obviously what you love if that's what you've been doing, but you haven't been getting volunteers. So if you have any questions about that, let me know. But that's the first reason why your nonprofit might be stagnant. The second reason why your nonprofit might be stagnant is you have a poorly put together website or social media, right? A lot of times nonprofits will immediately go out, get a $99 website. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you're not using the website, and if you are not pushing people to go to the website to find out what your programming is and what it does, then there's no point to you having the website. Your website and your social media for your nonprofit is really meant for people to become aware of your mission. It is meant for people to know what you do in the community, the kind of impact you're having, and most importantly, if people go and Google your nonprofit, they Google your programming, they need to see on the website that you are active, because people don't want to give you money for things that they don't have evidence or social proof. Remember, nowadays, what's the first thing that a person does? They Google you. Right? So if I Google you and I go to your website and I see that your website has no activity, then that's going to be a problem. Now, that's okay if you're not actively running your nonprofit, but I want to ask you, if you are really intentionally doing things in the community, then why aren't you promoting it? And when I talk about promoting your nonprofit on your website or your social media, I don't mean always on your website or social media begging people for money. Like, that's not what it is. It is about educating people on what your nonprofit is doing and the good that is happening in the community, how you're helping people. That is so important. You can also be on there telling people about the volunteers that you're looking for and why you need volunteers, right? You could also be asking for interns to join your nonprofit, to join the team. You could also be looking for board members. There are so many things that you could do on your website as well as on your social media. But if you have a poorly designed website, or if your social media is not getting any engagement, it's because you're, one, probably not consistent, and then two, are you really sharing with people what it is that your nonprofit is doing? And that's very important. That is not a thing that you sit and you do on a day-to-day basis. That is really something that you should sit down with someone and plan your communication strategy. So what is it that you want to say to people, right? You may want to start with your story about your why. Everyone tells you that. Like, think about this. When I tell someone that they need to talk about their why, I started this video by telling you my why. This is good across the board, whether you are a nonprofit or a for-profit. When you are sharing things with people, you need to share your why, because no one cares about your nonprofit until they clearly understand why you're doing it, right? After you tell people the why, the story about the why, tell them the what. Right? What are you doing? Then go with the how. So I tell people it's very easy. Think about the 5 W's and the H, right? So there is the why, the who, what, when, where, and then there's the how. What are you doing? And where are you doing it? How can people find you? And I tell people, I have a class where I tell people how to build content really big, because one of the things I mentioned in this post is that I teach nonprofits how to put content together. I literally can show you how to put one piece of content together, but then you can turn around and use that piece of content throughout the month. But as a nonprofit founder, or even as a business owner, you have to make a commitment that I'm going to sit down and quarterly, I'm going to make a decision on what I'm going to go out and talk to people about. What am I going to share with people this month? How am I going to share that thing? And then how am I going to invite people to come and join the conversation with me? And that's something that you really could do yearly, right? You could make up your mind. I'm going to talk about this month, this month. But if that's too much for you, you could always break that down into quarters, right? So if you break it into quarters, it makes it easier for you. So if you say, and here's why this is important. The giving season is coming up. How many of you have updated your website, number one, to have the content for people to want to give when the giving season comes? And then number two, are you talking to people right now on your social media and your website to let them know who you are and what it is that you do, so that when Giving Tuesday comes, so that when Thanksgiving and Christmas comes, when people are actually actively trying to get money out of their checking account because they want to donate it somewhere because it's a tax write-off, are you making it easy for them to want to give you money and connect with you? And a lot of times, business owners are not, nor are nonprofit founders. So that's item number 2. So item number 1, why your nonprofit or business even might be stagnant, is because you're not really a qualified leader. You're not leading the people in your organization in a way that is efficient. That's just the truth. The next thing, number 2, is your website or your social media is poorly designed, or you're not consistent, right? And I know, because I fell victim to that. I haven't been consistent on doing lives. Y'all, I really don't like doing lives. So I be telling people, if you catch me on a live, man, that's an exclusive thing. But I'm also learning that I want to be more consistent going forward. But it's also because I want to be more consistent. Hold, please. I want to be more consistent doing things that I truly enjoy doing. All right, so the next thing, and y'all gonna hear that ring because this is a live and phone calls happen. So the next one is gonna be, all right, so the next one, number 3, poor planning and poor record keeping. I do not want to tell you how many people fall victim to poor planning and poor record keeping. I will share with you, it is so often that I talk to nonprofit founders that have not filed their 990. And if you don't know what that is and you're a nonprofit founder, that's probably part of the problem, because every year you have to file a 990, and that is your way of letting the IRS know exactly how much money you raised, and that's important. If you do not file your 990 for 2 years consecutively, 2 to 3, you will lose they will revoke your 501c status. What does that mean? That means that you are no longer able to operate as a nonprofit because you are no longer tax exempt. So poor planning is very simple. You have to do it every year. If you are a business owner and you're paying attention, right? You have to file a franchise tax form every year. If you're not doing that, they can revoke your for-profit, right? That's poor planning because it's something you only have to do once a year. And if you can't put it in your calendar and commit to that, that's going to be a problem. Also, record keeping. I don't want to tell you how many nonprofits, when I ask them, how much did you raise last year? They don't even know. They have no clue. They've taken in the money and they've spent the money, but they don't know who they got it from. They don't know how much. They're not even keeping a spreadsheet. And when I tell you that I have to ask that to people who are funding their nonprofit themselves. So you're funding your nonprofit yourself, but you're not even keeping track of how much you're putting in. And you're also not using that as a tax write-off for yourself. That is poor planning and poor record keeping. If you are not keeping track of how many people are coming through your programming, that's a problem. Because how do you apply for grants? How do you apply for grants if you are not able to tell people, one, how many donations you've taken in yourself, how much you have contributed in your blood, sweat, and tears and time, and then also how many people are coming through your programming, and what are your results? Like, who are you impacting? What's the good stuff that's happening? How are people being better because of your programming? So that's item number 3. Item number 1 was not being a qualified leader. Item number 2, poor website and social media. Item number 3, poor planning and poor record keeping. Item number 4 is poor money management. I don't want to tell you how many times I have had people that they will bring in a large amount of money, but they can't even tell you if their fundraiser was effective because they don't know. There will be people that will say things to me like, yeah, I raised $8,000. And then I'll say, well, how much did it cost you to put on that event? And then they'll say $10,000. You didn't raise nothing. You have a deficit of $2,000. And that's facts, right? So really understanding, how are you managing the money? What are your expenses? Are you actually determining how much it's going to cost for you to do an event? Are you making a decision on what it will take for you to, 1, do the event, and then 2, are you doing events that are yielding results that are positive results and not negative results, right? So the next thing is, lastly, I don't want to tell you how many grassroots nonprofits are actually going after really big donorship. And there's nothing wrong with that, but I want to challenge you all to understand that it is very difficult to get a large donor to give you things if your numbers are not in order and if your paperwork isn't in order. You would do better to get money from a smaller donor, because people will donate $25 here, $50 here, and here's why. In their mind, that's not a big loss. Right? How many of us give away $25, give away $50? Some people go to the club and buy $50 or $60 worth of drinks, even $100. It's better to get smaller donors while you are working to build your grassroots organization, because when you get smaller donors, you can build relationships with those people. And as you build relationships with your smaller donors, it really helps you to be able to find out more. You can literally beta test with your smaller audience, and it makes it easier for you. Also, smaller donors may be willing to be volunteers. When I talk about larger donors and sponsorship, and if you want to go out to a business and you want them to give you bigger things, it's great if you can go to a company that will give you gift cards. That's great. But wouldn't it be better if you could get a company that would write you a $50,000 check? Wouldn't it be better if you could go and get a grant where you could get $50,000, $100,000, $1 million? But how do you get that? Are you a nonprofit that is positioning yourself for $1 million grant funding? And the question is, most small grassroots are not. They're applying for these large grants, but they don't have their paperwork together. They don't have their leadership together. They don't have their board together. And most importantly, they don't have their results together. And so that's what I wanted to share with you all today. I am going to be doing some group coaching and consulting the fourth Saturday of every month, June, July, and August, to get all of this nonprofit great stuff out of me and give it to people for the low of $197, because I know that I have really good information to give people, but I also know that I am no longer going to be offering the services of helping people with filing their application for their 501c3. I'm not going to be doing helping people build their boards, not in the way that I was doing it. I was selling those as individual services, and I realized that a lot of nonprofit organizations, because they're funding themselves, they just don't have it, and that's okay. So I decided to put a package together for people that they can purchase at a price and do it for themselves. And then if they want to hire me to be a consultant for their nonprofit so that I can help them grow, I'm willing to do that. And that's going to be for a consulting fee, which is going to require a retainer. Why am I saying that? So as some of you know, I've worked for some really big nonprofit organizations. I've worked for multi-million-dollar nonprofit organizations. And what I learned is those nonprofits operate as corporations. And that is why they grow, and that is why they get the big dollars. They actually sit down and strategically plan salaries. They plan their funding cycles. They plan all of those things, and they have a team of people that help them affect that. And most grassroots nonprofits are not doing that in a way that can help them grow, and that's why they stay stagnant. So if you are a nonprofit founder or a nonprofit leader, and your goal is in 2023, 2024, you really want to grow. You don't want to just sit and keep being where you've been. You want to increase the amount of funds that you bring in. You want to improve your board. You want a working board, y'all, a board that actually does some stuff for you. Then connect with me. I will be posting and doing a couple more lives, because today I just want to talk about the 5 reasons why you might be a little bit stagnant. But I am going to do, my next live is going to be talking to people about some things that they can do to improve the delivery of their mission on social media as well as on their website. So if you are one of those people that you do not have high engagement and you are looking for some ways to engage people more in your nonprofit and your mission, then our next live, you want to make sure that you follow it. Also, if you go out to my website, if you go to VRE Training Solutions, there is a way for you to set up a call with me. We can do a 15-minute discovery discovery call is free. We can have a discussion about some of the things that you may actually need for your nonprofit organization. I'm willing to have a discussion with you, but also I'm willing to have a discussion with you to let you know whether or not this class that I'm going to be doing, or this group coaching that I'm going to be doing on the fourth Saturday of every month is for you. Because now I'm at the point where I don't want just anybody to sign up for anything that I do. I really want qualified people. I want people who are going to take action with the information that I give them, because I know that it works, because I have helped more than 100 nonprofits or smaller grassroots nonprofits with increasing their donorship, increasing their visibility. And I don't even want to talk about the number of nonprofits that I've had to help get their status reinstated for their nonprofit because they literally were not tending to their paperwork. So if you're interested, follow me. If you see this on a replay, DM me and I'll send you a link so that you can schedule a call with me. I said I wasn't going to do all that posting the link in my live because I can't even do that. Y'all, I barely got these two phones working. So if you DM me, that's great. The ball's in your court. DM me. I'll send you a link. You can get the 15-minute discovery call. We'll have a discussion, talk about where your nonprofit is, and then talk about some tools or maybe a little bit of strategy on what you can do. And then also talk about whether or not this class that I'm going to be doing on the fourth Saturday of every month, which, yes, that means this Saturday I'm doing a class. I'm going to do it on the fourth Saturday of every month, and it is going to be $197. And then we can talk about whether or not this class is beneficial to you, and also whether or not it's something you should take. If you know someone that wants to start a nonprofit, this class might be really good for them, because one of the things is if I get enough people interested, I am going to do a walkthrough on how you can go and file your own 501c3 application for yourself, the short form. The long form takes a little bit longer. That would be a whole in-depth kind of conversation. I'd have to do a whole class for that by itself, but I can talk to you about the things that you need to do the short form. So I enjoyed this. I said I was going to keep it short. Hold on. Well, it was a little bit longer than what I planned on, y'all, but that's okay. It was good information. If you saw this and you thought it was good and you know somebody that has a nonprofit that needs some help, please share it with them. I'm going to post it on both of the pages. It will be there temporarily, at least through Saturday. I'll leave it there. So I would love it for you to love, like, share, leave a comment, DM me if you want to do a call with me. We can do a 15-minute session, and I can talk to you a little bit more about why your nonprofit may be stagnant. So again, my name is Tiffany Hicks and I am the CEO of VRE Training Solutions. And I look forward to doing a couple more lives and chatting with you all a little bit more. So until then, talk to you all again later. Bye.